Good day to you and welcome. I'm Ian Ballack and today I'm going to take a look at Citizens Farlands. Now, this is a pre-release copy. As you can see, the current version at the left bottom is version 0.83. So this is not really a review, this is just a showcase of what the game is within the development build. I should disclose that I was given this for free. I was streaming the game and I was beta testing it, but I got no money and I have no real affiliation to the developers as well. So this is what I'm doing here is just because I actually like the project and because I'm one of the few people who has spent significant amount of time with, on this game. From what I understand, I am, in terms of beta testing, the one who got the farthest, and I have spent about 30 hours on it already. Now, what is this specific game? It is a city building puzzler. Yeah, that sounds a little weird. So, because normally what you get is, in city buildings, or city builders rather, is more or less 2 or 3 approaches, let's say 3 approaches. One of these approaches is more like Banished, which is a survival-based game, more or less resource management. That is generally one of these major takes. To that you could count probably Frostpunk, which is also more focused on storytelling, or what is it? Medieval? No. The new one with settlement, or stuff like Endzone or Survive Mars and so on. The other type would be something more like City Skylines, where it is more complex, more about the whole network, and rather more than actually just resources itself, it is more about the management. You have to have everything properly connected with a network that makes everything work and makes it a living engine, you could say. Now, the third type, I would say, is something more creative in terms of city builders. It could be something like Timberborn or Townscaper, so more casual feeling city builders. This is where Citizens Farlands come. And Citizens Farlands comes with a fairly unique take. Oh no, fairly. It comes with a unique take on the whole genre. It's better to show you than actually explain everything from here. So I've chosen chapter 7 as it is one of the chapters before trade. In chapter 8 you already have trading, and as you progress you get more and more mechanics and more buildings and so on. But chapter 7 is the one that is generally the one where you already have something, but it's not overwhelming and it's easy to explain. Now, how does this start? You have a specific amount of turns. In here you have 165 turns, you start with turn 1. This is what you see in here are different workers, so you have different worker types. There is worker, it may be a little bit confusing, but here are artisans. You need artisans for more advanced buildings, obviously. So for example, if you want to craft weapons, you obviously need artisans. But if you want someone to plow your fields, you need workers. Here you have some gold, which is important generally for training the armies. And here you have your goals. So we have 3 goals now. Get 300 gold, which you can get fairly easily. Get 150 beer and get 150 clothes. You have we have our starting materials here, so we start with 100 wood and 50 meat. Every single time you build a building, you get you take 1 turn, so you can see that it's swapped to turn 2 out of 165. You can also take a look. If I press Alt, it shows all the resources available on the map, so you can see that the majority or all of these trees are can give you 40 wood. All these deer can give you 25 meat. And all these stones can give you 105 stone. There's also a 600 large fishing spot here. So I'm probably gonna start with, as always, with a woodcutter. Now, what this game generally is trying to tell you is that you should trade resources when you're building. So, for example, if I build it here, you can actually see, I'm gonna zoom it in, that the red ones are gonna disappear and the green ones are gonna be gathered. That means that you very often kind of are trading for more resources. There comes a little bit of the puzzle element here, mostly later on, because right at the start, this is fairly easy, of course. You have a lot of resources and you can reach everything pretty quickly. But as, let's say, resources come a little more scarce, you actually have to think about which resources are the ones you can sacrifice. There are, of course, a lot of tricks that you can do, such as this, where you can see that I can start working without actually destroying any building. So what I'm gonna build here is some buildings on the beach because, well, I'm not gonna waste space on top. This tactic later on will not work because as you progress you also get introduction of more of new hazards such as fires. That means that you generally want to have all the buildings protected against fires. So building something on a beach, and if it starts catching fire, you know, it's great. To the art style, before I continue with the gameplay itself, as you can see, it is a low poly style. It's actually nice. For example, I really like the deer. The trees are good. There is enough variety. There are new turtles down here, and all the levels have this thing where you can see some things around the island, and they generally do appear on other islands as well. So, for example, if you take a look at this octopus here, if I return to the main menu, we should be able to see the octopus in here. So there are these octopi, and if there is an octopus somewhere, you know, close to it, for example, you won't have an octopus here. But if it is related close to it, you can find them, the same as these guys or the shipwreck, for example, in here. So there is something that connects the levels visually. You can see it on the map as well. It's just like a very small touch that doesn't have anything to do with the gameplay itself, but it's just a nice addition. Another nice addition is that, for example, if I were to build this town hall on the grass, it would actually look differently. It wouldn't look this Mediterranean or Portuguese, Spanish style building, but it would be more like French, German, British style, where you have more. Can I actually show it? Yeah, it would look more like, for example, the woodcutters here. So it would actually have a white facade, small windows, unlike these ones where you have a larger window right here. There would be two small windows, a lot more wood, and white facade instead of the sandy one. Now, there are a few resources right at the start that are easily getterable. One of them, for example, is this wood. Or sorry, is wood and stone. Now, because I want stone, I'm gonna build this here. As you could have seen, I just decided to get rid of 2 resources because it is important to get that stone fairly early on. And even though I'm building these workers' houses, I am slowly gathering wood in here, because if I take a look at it, you can see that I have plus 12 wood every turn, because I have 2 times 6. Now, as you can see, every single resource gets you 2 more wood. So, for example, if I only gather from 1, I would actually be gathering 2 wood if I was gathering from 1 forest. But because I'm gathering from 3, I'm getting 6. There is a little bit of an issue right now with these particular stones, that you actually gather it on speed of 3 instead of 2. However, that will be fixed. As I mentioned, it is really a work in progress, and it's a nice game with a lot of potential, I would say. So I'm gonna try and fit this here. I know that there was a green part right there. Right there, that's the one. Now in here I can't really fit it without destroying anything. You can see that, yeah, I can't really fit it in there. Where could it go, however? Might be in here, but that doesn't really matter because, well, I'm gonna clear that. So I could fit it there. I'm just doing this not to waste all the resources. We have 11 turns, 165 to go. It is not a difficult game. At the start, there are some issues though, and later on, not issues, but problems, and later on, it becomes more and more difficult. So even though now it seems really easy, well, this is a puzzler, these first levels are to learn you, or teach you the mechanics, or allow you to learn these mechanics. Now, as you can see, build a warehouse to get more. However, we cannot build a warehouse. If I click on a warehouse, we also need wheat. I'm gonna wait just a few more turns. Probably could build a fishing house in here, or fisher's hut. There is a little bit of a problem here. This should be 5, not 6. And I can build more houses. Now you can see in here, for example, that we need 1 worker, and we have 6 workers already. Each worker eats 1 food, and they eat specific types of food as well. So for example, if I right click on the worker, you can see that they eat fruit, meat, and fish. They pay tax if they eat. That's how you get gold. So each 2 worker houses provide 1 peasant during invasion. There are later on invasions and battles as well that I'm not gonna introduce here at all. That will be part of the review once the game comes out in July, because there is a lot of things to be tweaked in the battles, and there is an ongoing balance changing of the units. So for example, even though I just went through the game really quickly and had no issues with battles, once the devs started tweaking with archers, I found it a lot more difficult to actually, let's say, win all the battles. And sometimes it was really close, which isn't great because, for example, if you have 3 waves and you lose 70% of your soldiers in the first wave, the second wave will be a lot more difficult for you, compared to if you lose, for example, only 30%. Now this is... I actually don't want to waste all the wood here, but I believe that no. Let's just build it here. Okay, once this is gathered, I might actually start building it here. So not to waste all the resources. Well, you know what? I'm gonna waste them a little bit. This is in the end fairly easy. It's not really a big problem. You can see that we gather all the wood here, so you can just start gathering more wood everywhere around here. Oh, I'm not gonna delete that one yet, but I can build a warehouse. That's gonna help significantly. Every single time, for example, I destroy a building, I get 50% of all the resources back. So you can see that this, if I close it here, this costs 10. If I delete it, I get 5 back. Fairly simple. We're 27 turns in, and we're starting gathering more gold, which is required. Now, you can see that the limit capacity here increased to 200, and we need 300 gold. Gold is also stored in warehouses and its maximum is based on the capacity of your warehouses. So we will need at least 3 warehouses in order to reach the goal. What do we need? Probably gonna need an orchard. I think I'm gonna build an orchard right here. But before that, I'm gonna gather all of that meat. Close this one. Orchard provides us with, fairly obviously, provides us with fruit, which is one of the resources that normal workers eat. And if I unpause it, we should have enough immediately. You can of course skip a turn, either by pressing space or actually pressing the sun top. Okay, I could theoretically do this. I could theoretically block those items. You can see that if I block them, we have 15 workers. We're slowly losing other. But if I block them, they should go up. Or rather, this one will go up. Otherwise, I will start losing all the resources. And build one more warehouse. Gather all the stone, so let's gather more stone here. And... well, this is empty. That is sometimes pretty dangerous, because you might not notice that you just ran out of your wood. Alright then. So what do we need now? We have 15 workers. We could use more workers, definitely. Which is why I'm gonna go for more orchards. Rather more fruit trees around the orchards. I will probably pause these two altogether. And this altogether gives us 21 food, which means that we can fairly safely go for 21 workers. The number is in here, and we have now 10 unemployed, which is just really safe. Next things to do. We need to provide food for our artisans in order to craft these. So let's get more wheat. Let's start with probably the more difficult thing. And those are sheep. Now if I build this, you can see that, hey, that's it's not such a big deal, right? To build it, it's pretty easy. Now, the problem here comes, okay, we need water, forget about that, so let's build a well. And where is the problem here? These sheep cost 5, it's okay, but they will also eat 5 wheat every single turn. So if I build one, we get +9 wheat, and at this point we have +7 water. If I build a second one, I'll be able to here. We have +4 wheat and +4 water. So we're losing, and one of the things is to find a proper balance in terms of wheat in general. We need about 8, I think. Yes. So that's okay. We don't need any more. Any more sheep. And we need more wheat. Immediately. More or less immediate. So let's build more wheat. There are ways to optimize, for example, placement of these wheat fields. So I could theoretically do this. And hey, +10. I'm gonna need a little more, I think. Just like this. So we have 6 more workers. Well, I'm gonna need more. So here's the trouble, right? We need now food for our artisans. Let's build one windmill, which will process our wheat. And let's build one bakery, because, well, the artisans will eat bread. If I take a look at the artisans, It will show that they provide artisans and will be destroyed after a few turns without food. They eat bread, sausage, or meals. If I take a look in here, we can either have meals, but I'm probably not gonna need that many artisans. Or we can have a butchery and make sausages. That's nice, but having all the piggies might be annoying. So I'm gonna decide for bakery and bread, and probably just gonna keep, I don't know, few artisans, maybe just 5, possible. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see that this is -5 plus 0, but it's gonna exchange every second turn because it doesn't really take 5. It actually only takes 10, so it creates 10 bread. It shows weirdly, but it creates 10 bread every 2 turns. So it's more or less gonna end up on the same level every single. These get more wood. Sorry, stone, more wood, and we have 2 more people. What we need right now is definitely gonna be a weaver. I can place him here, right next to it, and we'll be getting more income immediately. You can see that we have plus 42 income from our workers because we have 21, and each worker who eats gives us plus 2, and we have plus 30. How come that we have plus 30? Well, these artisans actually can provide us 6 gold with for every single piece of clothing or every single beer. Huh. Doesn't sound bad. So what do we need? We need a few more workers for this. We're gonna need a hop farm. 1, 2, 3. Probably, just like that. And I might try to get it like this. Oh. One more. One more. I'm just gonna delete this, so that I don't have to build more workers or worker houses, and actually build a brewery here. Plus 9. This is gonna take 10. Sounds okay. So 1 more just in here. And now what I'm gonna do is actually just wait to gather enough resources, which is gonna take about 50 turns, I think. I could theoretically, very, very theoretically, build this and actually build there's a turn and build 1 more brewery, which will definitely increase this by, to 15 per turn. So 1 more turn, and that's it. So this was one of the very early levels, very, very early levels. If I show you the difficulty of some of the other levels, you'll see the complexity that comes in. This is just a level 7, so this is like the introduction of beer and clothes. But for example, in here, you get introduced with trade. In here, you get the army and trading, the first barbaric attacks, spearmen, because you also have this rock, paper, scissors type of units. So for example, spearmen are great against cavalry. Archers are good overall, but mostly against infantry. But if anyone gets close to them, they're completely gone. And swordsmen, who are generally infantry, are not that great against cavalry itself, but they are very good against other against spearmen and archers. Expansion, that means because once you get 2 islands, you actually need to do a little specific thing that I'm not gonna really spoil. I skipped this particular level, but I can show you what it looks like once you are more or less done at one point and what the goals can be. So for example, this is chapter 21. I'm just gonna get back to it to showcase what are some of the later mechanics and how complex it can get, and it gets more and more complex even as you continue. All of this is also on the lowest difficulty. Now, this is a I should rather try a different one because there was a fail in here. Sorry for that. As you can see, I'm just winging this. To provide a more genuine experience, not just experience, but view on things. So let's take a look at this one particular level, which is... No. Let's take the cavalry level. Not to spoil the last level here. That wouldn't be great. So this is how you might end up. Once again, oh no, this one was plagued by it as well. Damn. So which one of them was actually, I think that Eden was actually fine. We had a bug in the game, which causes this issue. It will not be present, of course. This is just a beta version, and there are bound to be some bugs. That's why that's why I was testing it. Meanwhile, I can talk about how I actually like the game quite a bit. I actually do like the game quite a bit. For example, in here, the army that I have is only half the size. But yes, the army I have is half the size of this. So it's still possible to get about 500, 400 units anyway. You can see that what we have here, these buildings are green just because there is a fire station and the apothecary. So for example, the apothecary takes care of the hazard of illness or disease, the fire station takes care of the hazard of fire, and some buildings can catch fire, some buildings cannot catch fire on their own, but they can actually burn down. One of the good examples of this might be the town hall, which I'm not sure where I currently have one. Right here, for example, you can see that this is a different town hall because it is built on grass and not really beach, so it is slightly different to the previous one. And this one, town halls or, for example, woodcutters, they won't start burning on their own, but they will actually burn down if there is a building around them that catches on fire. So generally, buildings that catch on fire are dwellings because, well, people want to, you know, not have cold in there. But there are, for example, charcoal burners, warehouses can burn down, butcheries can, but breweries, of course, can because there is fire in them. Maybe butcheries can as well, I'm not sure now. Generally, anything that actually gives you, or generally that would generally have fire inside. For example, if I take a look in here, an archer range won't be able to burn down. A swordsman camp won't burn down, it's just a camp. But an armor, that can burn down. A blacksmith, that can burn down obviously. A smelter can burn down. But an iron mine, that won't burn down. Why would it? You can see that it adds a lot more features later on. For example, you can start, even though originally food is only used for food for workers, you can later on down the line start making wine out of it, for which you also need pottery. You need wine in order to get more income from aristocrats, which is a third type of units or workers in here, and they are much harder to keep and much harder to build, because they, for example, need smoked fish as a food resource, or cheese as a food resource. That means that generally it builds up. You have like tiers. You have it on tier 1, you have wheat. On tier 1, you have fruit. On tier 1, you have, for example, piggies, or generally meat. But on tier 2, which is the ones that artisans require to live, you have bread, you have sausages, you have vegetables and so on, and meals. And then you have tier 3, which are buildings that generally will require artisans to a point. So for example, cheesemonger requires an artisan, meat smoker requires an artisan to work, but they provide resources to aristocrats. So there is this tiering there, and it can get more difficult and difficult. You can see that I have finished, apparently I haven't here, it shows, but the level is finished here. I finished in 142 turns. 432 turns, sorry. 432 turns. And that means that there is still like this little edge where you're like, oh, it's only 20 levels. it's not that far. You can probably get to 50 levels, but there comes the puzzle part. It can get difficult, it can get hard, and it can get to a point where you need to restart in the middle because you just built it wrong, you started wrong, your original idea wasn't right, or you got to something too late because you focused more on the tier 1 economics of, you know, having a lot of workers, for example, and building a lot of meat and so on, and having all this backed up. But you actually needed to start to build this up progressively while you also start building on tier 2, so that on, let's say, you know, level 3, turn 300, you could start building towards aristocrats while you are still improving your basic economy. Because, once again, every single time you build a building, a turn goes up. So you don't want to skip turns overall, you want to use turns to build things, and that is the puzzle part in the whole game. As I mentioned, I really like the game. I was expecting to enjoy it for about 2 days, maybe 3 days, so let's say 10-12 hours of streaming, maybe 15 max. But in the end, I've spent about 30 hours, and I've gone and I've managed to get to chapter 28. As you can see, there are some chickens here on these islands. That means that I skipped the island. I got to some point and I skipped it later on, generally because there occurred a bug that, for example, made it impossible. And once you have these 3 chickens, and once you actually finish the level, you get the chicken back. So it's not that you always chicken out, but, you know, once you're done chicken out and once you actually finish the level, you get the chicken back so you can continue. There will be a few difficulties, or the difficulty levels, hard, easy, and there are different points, so there will be some kind of a leader points as well, for those of you who want to be a little competitive, but this is supposed to be a single player experience for all ages. So for example, for kids, easy will be difficult for some kids as well, but it can be kind of easy to adults. But hard will, once again, it will be as you expect. Hard will be more of an, most likely an adult version, I would say, or in terms of difficulty, of course, not that it would be for adults. So I hope that this actually gave you some thoughts on what to expect from the game, if you should be looking forward to it or not. It comes out in July 2022, or should come out, and I have to say that after talking to the devs, after spending about those 30 hours with the devs, there was always someone looking at my stream from the devs, checking out the way I approach problems, the way the levels might need some balancing. Because, for example, there was a difficulty spike that they kind of, you know, the curve is now more, what was the word I'm looking for? The curve isn't so spiky at this point. It is more narrow. It is more pleasant. It is more progressive, and that's what the beta testing was about. And the devs actually make a lot of progress all the time. They don't really, at this point, they are not adding that many new features, which is great, by the way, because 2 months in front of, 2 months from release, or before the release, they shouldn't be adding that many new features, but they are really working on bug hunting and balancing. And I'm not sure, for example, about the price of the game. They mentioned a few prices there, a few potential prices. But if you got to this point of the video, please could you go down to the comments and tell me what you would actually pay for a game like this, where the art style for me personally is nice. You have 3 maps of different levels. It's over 35 levels, I think, which are handcrafted. It is not randomly generated. And there is a lot of mechanics and a lot of time spent onto this. The development team is, I think, 4 or 5 people. It's a small indie, it's a kind of a small indie game. So let me know in the comments how much you would be willing to pay for a game like this, where it offers on easy difficulty, I would say at least 40 hours of solid enjoyment. It's not like, oh, let's end this. No. I actually enjoyed it. I'm not sure about the hard or impossible difficulties yet. They are not fully implemented, so I cannot even test them. But if those get in, it could provide you with more than 100 hours of enjoyment. So let me know in the comments how much you would be willing to pay for this game. Now, thank you for watching this. Thank you for the interest in this game as well, because I really want to help them out. They are a nice group of devs and nice guys overall. And once again, I have no affinity to them. I was not paid. I only got the key for free in order to test it. So, thanks everyone for watching again. Comment below, and see you next time.